You know the feeling. The room gets hot even if the air is cool. The jaw tightens. The hands start drawing shapes in the air as if the right gesture could force understanding to happen, and a simple disagreement becomes a contest that steals your evening and your peace. You walk away, rehearsing all the lines you should have said, and none of them build a single brick of the life you want. In that small ache of regret, something honest whispers that arguments rarely change reality. They only change your heart rate. Solomon would call that moment a crossroads, where honor chooses quiet and folly chooses noise, and your future is decided not by a clever sentence, but by the next obedient step you take. There is a wisdom older than our pride and kinder than our impulses, a wisdom that understands the brain's alarms and the soul's longings. When tension rises, the body floods with stress chemistry that tightens attention around the threat and tempts us to fight for victory rather than reach for truth. The amygdala shouts while the prefrontal voice goes faint. Slow breath returns blood to the front of the mind, and with breath comes room, and with room comes choice. In that room, Solomon's counsel stands like a steady lamp. Dignity avoids strife. Foresight closes the breach before the waters roar. And true strength is the power to hold the tongue until action is ready to speak for you. You are not weak for stepping away from a quarrel. You are wise for stepping toward what actually changes outcomes. Think of the places where words multiplied and results did not, where you spent a day defending your perspective but could not point to a single measurable improvement when night fell. Perhaps it was a meeting where the same points circled like birds, or a kitchen conversation that returned to the same worn groove, or an online thread where nobody left lighter or wiser, only more certain and more tired. Notice how your chest felt after, the way the body keeps score of battles that never needed to happen. Notice how much relief arrived the last time you quietly fixed something instead of explaining why it needed to be fixed. That relief is not passivity, it is sovereignty, the quiet authority of someone who knows the difference between movement and motion, between noise and transformation. Solomon's wisdom meets you exactly there, not to shame you for past debates, but to give your energy a home. It honors your intelligence and refuses to let it be squandered in endless explaining. It understands that love speaks best when backed by follow-through, that leadership persuades most when anchored in outcomes, and that peace is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of wise priorities. Your life does not need another perfect argument. It needs a faithful first step. Your relationships do not need sharper comebacks. They need calmer promises kept. Your work does not need more meetings. It needs a small deliverable shipped and reviewed. The heart already knows this, which is why you feel both tired of fighting and hungry for motion. So breathe once, and then breathe again, letting the breath travel all the way down to the belly where the body remembers safety. On the third breath, picture the smallest action that would honor what you value most in this moment, something humble enough to start now and meaningful enough to matter by tomorrow. Hear the ancient counsel rise like a clear bell in the fog. Don't argue, just do it. Not because your voice lacks strength, but because your life deserves results. Not because others win if you fall silent, but because you win when wisdom directs your courage toward work that can be seen, touched, and counted. Let tonight be lighter than last night, not because you proved your point, but because you moved your life. There is a turning point hidden inside ordinary days, a quiet point where noise loses its glow and wisdom begins to breathe. The room is the same, the faces are the same, the calendar still waits on the wall, yet something subtle shifts. You stop measuring life by who sounded smarter and begin sensing a deeper measurement by what became real. In that moment, the old habit of arguing shows its cost in the body and in the hours that cannot be reclaimed. The heart wants something sturdier than victory in a conversation. It wants a result that can be touched, a peace that can be felt, a legacy that can be counted without raising your voice. This frame begins with compassion for the way the human system works under strain. When tension rises, the nervous system narrows its focus, as if everything depends on pressing harder. The body feels heat in the face and tightness in the jaw, and the mind floods with fast sentences that promise control but rarely deliver change. Emotional circuitry pulls attention toward the nearest threat, while the higher centers that plan and prioritize go quiet. None of this means anyone is broken. It means the alarms are ringing. Calming signals restore access to foresight and choice. With that access, a person no longer chases the feeling of being right. They choose the calmer work of becoming effective. Solomon's wisdom honors that shift from reactivity to reality. It does not worship silence for its own sake. It treats silence as a bridge to clarity and as a shield against waste. It respects language, yet refuses to spend words that action could spend better. In this frame, authority is not a loud posture. Authority is the steady echo of kept promises. Influence is not a perfect speech. Influence is the evidence of outcomes repeated over time until trust forms on its own. When arguments escalate, trust drains. When work quietly lands, trust returns. At the center of this frame stands a simple reordering of values. The ego seeks confirmation. Wisdom seeks transformation. The ego wants to win the moment. Wisdom wants to bless the season. The ego looks for applause. Wisdom looks for fruit. You have likely felt this difference in your own chest. After an argument, the pulse is high and the relief is thin. After a faithful action, the breath deepens and the shoulders lower, and a quiet strength enters the room. One path feeds a story about self, the other path builds a future for everyone touched by your life. This is also a frame of mercy. It does not judge you for past debates. It gathers that scattered energy and gives it a home. It understands that love without follow-through becomes heavy and brittle, that leadership without delivery becomes decoration, that insight without implementation becomes regret. When the inner life is ordered by wisdom, speech turns careful and decisions turn timely. You begin to notice what truly matters and what never did. You begin to feel how peace grows whenever you protect your attention and invest it in the next faithful step. The heart softens, the mind clears, the day opens. Within this frame, the chapters ahead will move from idea to embodiment. They will meet the places where arguing once felt productive and trade them for choices that reshape outcomes. They will explore the quiet strength of accepting wise guidance, the discernment to answer or ignore, the relief of moving with speed towards small deliverables, and the deep authority of measured silence. The language will stay simple, and the tone will stay kind, because the aim is not to impress, but to heal and to build. What begins as a change in how you handle tension becomes a change in how you carry time, how you hold relationships, how you lead your own future. In this frame, you do not abandon your voice. You honor it by letting results speak first. There is a kind of heat that rises in the mind when a disagreement begins to spin. Thoughts sharpen, the chest tightens, and a strange hope appears that the next sentence will finally unlock the other person's understanding. It feels productive, it feels like progress. Hours later, the room is quiet, the pulse is slower, and nothing has moved except the furniture of emotion. Inside that silence, a softer truth becomes audible. Arguing often rewards the ego with the taste of being right, while costing the future the gift of real change. The sensation of momentum replaces the substance of movement, and authority leaks away one clever line at a time. The brain has its reasons for this habit. Under social threat, the alarms flare, and the body prepares for battle. The attention narrows. The mouth tries to carry more weight than the hands can. A small surge of pleasure follows each point we score, a quick reward that keeps us in the loop. Yet this chemical echo is not the same as transformation. The nervous system is trying to protect status, while the soul is trying to build a life. Solomon's wisdom speaks to that split. Honor avoids strife. A quarrel begins like a breach in a dam. The image is painfully accurate. A single crack seems harmless until the pressure finds it, and then the water that should irrigate fields becomes the force that tears them apart. Consider how this looks at work. A team meets to solve a simple problem and circles it for an hour. Voices stay polite, but the energy thins. One person steps out of the loop. They name what the team already agrees on, suggest the smallest piece that can be delivered first, attach a clear moment to review, and return to their desk. The room loses a debater and gains a builder. 12 hours later, there is a working draft, and the conversation that once ballooned into philosophy shrinks into a concrete review. No one lost face. The project gained ground. Authority settles on the person whose output exists in the world rather than in the air. Consider how this looks at home. The same topic returns after dinner, familiar and exhausting. Voices are careful and tired. The evening is too precious to spend in a cul-de-sac. One person breathes and chooses a different path. They acknowledge what matters to both of them, make a small change within their control, and set a time to check the effect. The night grows quieter. The relationship gains a little traction underfoot. Trust begins to notice that promises are turning into patterns. No grand speech was needed, the gesture spoke, and the room believed it. This is the quiet undermining of the ego's trap. The ego insists that influence lives inside the perfect argument. Wisdom knows that influence lives inside repeatable outcomes. The ego rushes to defend identity. Wisdom protects destiny. The ego wants applause. Wisdom wants fruit. Authority, the kind that lasts, is not a volume setting. It is a record. When people can point to what has changed because of your presence, they listen before you speak, and they keep listening after you finish. When people can only remember that you are quick with words, they brace for the flood and build little dams inside their chests. There is mercy in this insight. You are not wrong for wanting to be understood. You are human. You are not weak for stepping away from an argument. You are wise. Something in you already knows how costly the crack can become. You have seen how one exchange spills into the next day, how sleep carries the argument forward, how the body keeps the emotional ledger. And you have also tasted the relief that arrives when action replaces explanation. A task finished. A small fix applied, a promise kept. The body calms because reality moved. The mind softens because the world is now slightly different and better. Think of the last week and notice where you talked in circles. Notice how much you cared and how little changed. Notice also the one place where you quietly did the thing that needed doing, even if it was small, and how that smallness still managed to tilt the day toward peace. The pattern is there. It has always been there. The heart knows which path heals. The mind is learning to trust it. This is not a sermon against speech. It is a reminder that speech carries its full weight only when action has prepared the ground. Words land softly where results already exist. The image of the dam returns because it refuses to be ignored. A hairline crack looks like a debate that feels safe. The water finds it. Pressure widens it. Soon the force that could have lit a mill or watered a field rushes out wild and brown and hard to control. In a life ordered by wisdom, the gate opens in a different direction. Instead of feeding the breach with more words, attention is turned to the channel that leads to work. The water moves along purpose. The fields receive what they need. The air stays quiet. The future is protected. There is a kind of dignity that grows in a person who chooses results over noise. You can hear it in the way they pause before they answer. You can see it in the trail of outcomes behind them. They do not need to sound right because the shape of their days already argues for them. People relax near this kind of presence. Teams take courage. Homes breathe easier. The ego uses argument to feel large. Wisdom uses delivery to become useful. One posture drains authority. The other posture builds it, season after season, until trust becomes the natural climate of their relationships. If the heart leans toward a single question here, it is simple and kind. Where did debate replace delivery in recent days? And what quiet shift would protect the future you love? The answer will not arrive as fireworks. It will arrive as a small next step that dignifies everyone involved. The ego will still ask for a speech. Wisdom will still point to a task. The body will know which voice to follow because peace will rise to meet it. And when the day has passed, there will be something visible to show for your care, something solid enough to carry trust into tomorrow. There is a moment when the will stops bracing and the mind becomes quiet enough to hear what is already true. Pride loosens its grip, the shoulders lower, and a small space opens where guidance can land without triggering defense. In that space, the old fear appears that obedience will make you smaller or erase your voice. Yet a deeper knowing answers softly that obedience to wisdom does not erase a person. It refines a person. It does not shrink your authority. It focuses your authority. It is not surrender to pressure. It is alignment with truth. Human nature often confuses obedience with weakness because the nervous system treats guidance like a threat to identity. When stress rises, the inner alarms nudge us toward resistance, and the body tries to protect control by arguing. The amygdala shouts to hold the line, while the planning mind that can evaluate and prioritize goes quiet. When calm returns, choice returns. With choice comes the clarity to see that obedience to wisdom is not about bending to whoever is loudest. It is about listening for what is sound and life-giving, then allowing that truth to shape the next move. The wise in heart accept commands, says Proverbs chapter 10 verse 8, not because they lack strength, but because their strength is already pledged to what is right. This obedience is strategic. It is not blind. It tests a piece of guidance with two simple questions that steady the mind. Does this align with my values? Are the stakes low enough that a quick test will teach me more than another conversation? When both answers lean yes, the wise heart moves without argument. The brain gets what it needs, which is a small, safe experiment. The soul gets what it longs for, which is integrity with what it believes. The result is momentum without noise, learning without drama, peace without delay. Imagine a leader in a meeting who hears a suggestion that fits the mission and carries little risk. The ego wants to negotiate the credit or polish the wording until it glows. The wiser part recognizes the fit and nods. A small action begins the same day. By the time the next meeting arrives, discussion has evidence to work with, and the room feels different. People breathe easier around leaders who can accept good guidance quickly because it signals security and invites collaboration. The decision did not flatten anyone. It lifted the team toward a shared result. Picture a home where the same conversation has circled for months. The need is real, the feelings are tender, and fatigue has replaced curiosity. One partner hears a suggestion that honors their values and costs almost nothing to try. Instead of debating philosophy, they choose to let the suggestion have a week to prove itself. The atmosphere softens because hope finally has a shape. The other partner feels seen, and the household begins to trust that love in this house means movement, not just words. Nobody lost their voice. The relationship gained a rhythm. Obedience to wisdom strengthens identity because it roots identity in truth rather than in being right. It frees the mind from endless defense and gives the hand something honest to do. It calms the social brain that worries about status and feeds the executive brain that plans, sequences, and completes. Emotional neuroscience shows that congruent action lowers anxiety and reduces the mental load of carrying unresolved tension. When a person follows through on a value they have named, the body registers safety and the mind opens to creativity. Peace is not a vague feeling in this state. Peace becomes a measurable shift in attention and energy. This kind of obedience also repairs the inner relationship with authority. Many hearts learn to equate authority with domination or neglect. Solomon does not echo that pattern. His wisdom casts authority as stewardship and service. In that light, accepting a sound command becomes an act of courage and clarity. You are not bowing to a tyrant. You are cooperating with reality. You are letting what is true have its rightful influence so that what you build will endure. You become more yourself, not less, because the self you are becoming is aligned with what is life-giving. There is a quiet beauty in how this plays out over time. A person who practices obedience to wisdom leaves a trail of decisions that make sense together. Their days start to rhyme. Promises begin to carry the weight of history. People nearby relax because there is no need to wrestle for position. Results speak. Trust grows. Influence rises without shouting. The room learns to expect integrity from this presence, and integrity, once expected, becomes easier to supply. Sometimes the barrier is not pride, but confusion. What if the guidance is partly right and partly off? Obedience to wisdom has room for nuance. It can accept the part that aligns and set aside the rest without resentment. It can start small so that learning is affordable. It can return to the table with new information and a calmer tone. This is not passivity. It is the confidence to move with what is clear while leaving the unclear to time and further light. It is the discipline of acting where the ground is solid and waiting where it is not. The metaphor of a well-tuned instrument fits here. An instrument does not argue with the conductor. It listens, adjusts, and releases its voice at the appointed moment. This is not erasure. This is excellence. The more precisely it aligns, the more fully its unique tone can be heard. In the same way, the more a person aligns with wisdom, the more distinctly their true voice emerges. Genuine obedience reveals individuality instead of smothering it, because the self can finally stop defending and start creating. Perhaps the most tender truth is this: obedience to wisdom is love in motion. It is love for your future, love for those entrusted to you, love for the order that keeps a life whole. It is the steady choice to let truth lead, not because you are afraid of being wrong, but because you are hungry to be useful. The heart softens in this posture. The mind clears. The day opens. And in the quiet that follows, influence takes root where noise once grew, and the path ahead becomes a little more walkable, a little more bright. There is a peculiar fatigue that follows certain conversations, not the clean tiredness that comes after good work, but a grainy weariness that clings to the skin and the thoughts. You replay sentences while washing a dish or staring at a spreadsheet and feel the ache of having been pulled into something that did not deserve your hours. The nervous system hums as if danger were still present. The jaw remembers its tension and the night feels shorter. Somewhere beneath the noise, a simpler truth waits to be named. Not every challenge merits an answer. Not every provocation has earned your voice. There is wisdom in letting some waves pass the hull while you keep the wheel steady toward the harbor you chose, long before the weather turned. The body is not wrong for reacting. It was built to attend to threats. In fast moments, the social brain reads tone and posture and primes the mouth to defend standing. Even the rhythm of the heart tries to argue a case. Mirror systems in the brain pull you toward the energy you encounter. A raised voice invites a raised voice. A barbed sentence asks for its twin. The pull is strong because belonging is precious and status used to decide survival. But another system is available when you pause long enough to feel your feet on the floor. Executive centers come back online. Perspective widens. The question that matters becomes audible. Is this a wave worth meeting or a wave to let pass? Ancient counsel holds the tension with unusual honesty. One line urges you not to answer a fool in the manner of his folly so that you do not become like him. The very next line tells you to answer a fool so that he will not imagine he is wise. The pairing in Proverbs 26 verses 4 and 5 does not contradict itself. It invites discernment. Sometimes silence protects your integrity. Sometimes a measured word protects the community. The art is knowing which season you are in, which audience is watching, which outcome is truly at stake. In practice, the mind can learn to sort moments by two quiet measures. First, the measure of impact. Will this exchange change anything that matters, or is it a distraction dressed as importance? Second, the measure of audience. Are the people present the ones entrusted to your care and work, or is this a crowd that feeds on spectacle? When both measures point to significance, a response may carry weight. When either measure falls short, the cost of engagement tends to exceed the gain. You can feel the difference in your chest. Urgency without meaning feels hot and thin. Meaning with real consequence feels steady and cool. Picture a team table where a proposal derails into sarcasm. The room tilts toward theater. The leader senses the pull to spar, then notices who is present and what the project needs by week's end. The leader names the outcome in plain language and redirects attention to the next deliverable that moves the dial. A reply was offered, but not to the provocation. It was offered to the mission. The atmosphere recalibrates because the signal is clear. This house will not be governed by the mood of the loudest moment. It will be governed by the work that serves the goal everyone agreed to pursue. Picture a digital thread where certainty grows sharper with every refresh. Strangers assemble. Algorithms amplify. The mind confuses visibility with importance. You read a claim that asks for a clever takedown. Then you remember the quiet measures. The impact on your actual life is nearly zero. The audience that shapes your calling is not here. The thread is a storm outside your window. You let it pass and invest your attention where tomorrow will be decided. The relief that follows is not numbness, it is stewardship. You have kept your mind available for the people and tasks that trust you. Discernment does not mean you never answer. It means that when you answer for a reason deeper than the itch to be right. The tone changes when the reason is true. The voice lowers. The words shorten. The point lands without splintering the room because your nervous system is not arguing for self. It is protecting a boundary, clarifying a value, or stopping a harm. When such speech comes, it wears the weight of care. Even those who disagree can hear that a line has been drawn for the sake of something larger than ego. Emotional neuroscience helps explain the steadiness you feel when you refuse petty battles. By declining to mirror provocation, you interrupt a loop that would otherwise keep stress hormones elevated and narrow your cognition. The prefrontal regions regain bandwidth, working memory improves, and the brain's default mode quiets its unhelpful rumination. This is not abstract. It is the difference between sleeping well and carrying the argument to bed, between starting the next day with focus or waking to a lingering fog. Guarding your responses is also a way of guarding your neurochemistry so that clarity has a chance to do its good work. There is also the question of witness. Someone is almost always watching how you carry tension. A child at a doorway, a new hire at the edge of the table, a friend who is learning how to trust again. When you decline the bait of trivial conflict, you are modeling a path they may not have seen before. You are teaching that dignity can live in restraint, and that strength often looks like attention anchored to purpose. This quiet lesson changes rooms more than victories in small arguments ever could. The sea image returns because it belongs here. A captain who chases every wave never reaches land. The wheel must stay firm toward the chosen line, and power must be spent where it advances the journey, not where it flatters pride. The ocean will always offer a reason to turn aside. The sky will always offer a storm worth naming. Wisdom does not deny weather. It navigates. It reads the swells, trims the sail, and keeps faith with the destination that mattered before the winds rose. Over time, the shoreline comes into view, not because there were no tempests, but because you refused to make each tempest your theater. Some disagreements are sacred because they guard what is holy in a life. Some are ordinary and loud and empty. The heart learns to tell them apart by the fruit they bear. Sacred dissent makes space for truth and opens a way forward with minimal harm. Empty quarrels harden positions and leave the soil of relationship poorer. When you feel the difference, you stop offering your finest attention to contests that do not feed your calling. You preserve your voice for moments where it can build rather than burn. In the end, the rule is gentle. Answer when answering protects what is tender or advances what is true. Withhold when withholding protects your integrity or preserves the mission. Let consequence and community be your witnesses. Let peace in the body be your counsel. When in doubt, look at the horizon you have chosen and ask whether this moment moves you there. If it does, your words will carry quiet authority. If it does not, your silence will carry even more. Some moments do not need more words. They need the sound of a chair sliding back, the soft click of a door, the gentle weight of hands on a task. You can almost feel the air change when a decision becomes motion. The mind stops spinning in its own orbit, and the body enters the day again. There is a steadiness that follows, a quiet pulse that says reality is being shaped rather than described. Solomon speaks into that shift with the tenderness of someone who has watched many lives spend themselves in circles. All hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. Proverbs chapter 14 verse 23 does not scold. It simply names the gravity of the world we live in. Effort lands, excess words leak. The nervous system understands this more than we admit. The brain craves completion. It relaxes when a loop is closed and stays agitated when a loop remains open. Rumination is an unfinished loop. Debate without delivery is an unfinished loop. Promises unkept are 1,000 open tabs that heat the processor and drain the battery of the soul. When one small task is carried to the finish line, the chemistry of relief arrives and focus returns to the front of the mind. Anxiety loosens because the present can point to something that exists. Even a humble beginning counts as a closed circuit, a signal to the body that life is moving in the right direction. Speed of implementation is not about panic or haste. It is about compassion for attention. It is about respecting how quickly energy dissipates when action is delayed and how quickly hope rekindles when action begins. The pattern is simple enough to live inside ordinary days. Take what is clear and give it a shape before the day is done. Then look again with fresh eyes when 2 sunrises have passed. Some builders call this the 24 and 48 rhythm. Decision turns into a first piece within 24 hours. A calm review arrives at 48. The rhythm does not chase perfection. It protects momentum. It gives learning a body so that wisdom can adjust something real rather than argue with the air. Picture a project that has hovered over a team for weeks. Meetings have been careful and sincere. The scope has grown tired from being stretched beyond sense. One person names the smallest outcome that proves value and can be produced without waiting on anyone else. They draft it that afternoon. They share it the next morning with a short note about what works and what is missing. The room that once rehearsed possibilities now has an artifact to consider. The conversation changes temperature. Opinions become observations. The next slice is obvious. Pride eases because reality is finally in the room. You can almost hear trust returning to the table. Picture a home where 2 people long for more peace around schedules and chores. The talk has been honest and the feelings are real, yet the loop repeats every weekend. Then one of them quietly sets a simple board by the kitchen with a few recurring tasks and a short place for notes. Nothing grand, nothing heavy, just a surface where promises can land and be seen. 2 days later, the tone of the evening is lighter. The house is not perfect, but the air is kinder, because the love that once lived only in intentions now lives in patterns that both can feel. The heart rests differently when effort becomes visible. Speed of implementation protects dignity. Long delays force a person to keep explaining. Repeated explanations wear grooves in the soul. Movement says what explanations cannot. When your hands carry what your mouth has carried for too long, the inner weather clears. People around you relax because they do not need to manage your hopes. They can see them. They can stand near them. They can join them. This is not about being fast for the sake of speed. It is about being faithful while the energy is still warm. before cynicism cools it, before fear drains it, before perfect becomes the enemy of done and turns hope into a museum piece. There is kindness in starting small. A first piece that is honest and visible invites feedback without threat. It lowers the cost of being wrong and raises the speed of becoming right. It trains the mind to seek progress instead of applause and trains the community to value learning over posture. Even the quietest hearts in the room begin to speak when the stakes are manageable and the conversation centers on something made. Debate becomes collaboration. Defensiveness gives way to curiosity. The soil becomes friendlier to seeds. Emotional neuroscience notes another gift in this rhythm. When a person converts insight into a modest action quickly, the brain pairs the reward of understanding with the reward of completion. Dopamine stops being a teaser and becomes a tutor. It teaches the system that clarity leads to craft, that anxiety can be metabolized through making, that agency is not a feeling but a practice. Sleep deepens. Morning arrives without the grit of stale arguments. The day opens with a direction already chosen and a first step already taken, which frees attention for the next right piece rather than for a fresh set of explanations. The image of a field belongs here. Picture an expanse of soil after rain, dark and promising. You can talk about seed and harvest for hours, and sometimes the talk is needed to choose well and to plan wisely. But there is a moment when the blade must meet the ground. The plow does not give speeches. It enters the earth and draws a line where there was none. Then another and another, until the land has a pattern that can welcome life. There is a quiet joy in that work, a sense that the world is cooperating with you, that creation itself is leaning in because you have joined its rhythm. The field does not respond to eloquence, it responds to presence. Speed of implementation is also an act of humility. It accepts that the first version will not carry the crown, that beginnings are honest before they are beautiful. Humility makes room for iteration and saves a person from the perfectionism that punishes love. With humility, reviews at the second sunrise feel like care instead of judgment. The work improves without bruising anyone. The path narrows into a groove the feet can trust, and what once felt like an argument with life becomes a conversation with it. There is a tenderness in how results change relationships. People who have grown weary of promises begin to look up again when patterns arrive. Skepticism softens. Gratitude returns in small glances and soft words. Teams gather their strength around leaders who ship quietly and often. Families settle into a shared cadence where needs are not defended with heat, but met with ordinary faithfulness. Influence spreads without announcement because results are contagious. They give others permission to try small and try soon. All of this lives within Solomon's plain sentence that work brings profit and talk alone drains the storehouse. The words are old and exact. They do not rush anyone, and they do not spare us either. They simply steer our love toward forms that endure. When insight appears, give it a body while it is warm. When the body exists, let 2 dawns pass and look again with gentle eyes. Correct what needs correction. Strengthen what carries weight. Allow patience to join speed so that neither outruns the other. Over time, the trail behind you will tell a story without speeches, a story of a life that moved, a garden that grew, a voice that became most persuasive when its words were already standing in the world. There is a quiet that does not feel like absence. It feels like strength gathering in the bones, like a tide turning under the surface where no one can see the pull yet. In tense rooms, this quiet is often misunderstood. People imagine indifference where there is discernment, retreat where there is restraint. Yet the body can tell the difference. When silence is avoidance, the chest caves a little and the breath gets thin. When silence is wisdom, the spine lengthens and the breath deepens, and something inside you settles, as if a trusted hand has returned to the wheel. The ancient line says, There is a time to be silent and a time to speak, from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 7, and that sentence carries the weight of seasons. It does not worship quiet for its own sake. It names timing as holy. The first kindness in this discipline is toward your nervous system. Under pressure, it hurries to fill the air because uncertainty feels like danger. The social brain whispers that if you can keep talking, you can keep belonging, that if you can keep explaining, you can keep control. But language spent too soon often becomes kindling for a fire that did not need to burn. Neurobiology offers a gentler path. Slow breaths lengthen the exhale and signal safety to the vagus nerve. The heart rate eases and blood returns to the frontal regions where planning and empathy reside. In that restored clarity, words are no longer weapons searching for a target. They become tools chosen for a purpose. Silence created this return. Silence gave wisdom a place to sit down. The discipline of silence is not the refusal to engage. It is the refusal to escalate. It makes space to choose the one sentence that matters rather than the 20 that would scatter attention and heat the room. The ancient proverb offers its paradox with a small smile. Even a fool is considered wise when quiet, says Proverbs chapter 17, verse 28. The line is not a trick for winning appearances. It is a reminder that restraint honors the complexity of moments where the first answer is rarely the truest answer. When the soul waits, truth has time to gather its full shape. When the mind rushes, partial truths stumble over each other and turn into noise. Imagine a meeting where tension crests, data is uncertain, deadlines breathe down the neck of the table, two voices sharpen. You feel the pull to jump in and prove steadiness with volume. Then the body remembers the rhythm you have been practicing. A few calm breaths soften the edges of perception, and the goal returns to view like a shoreline through lifting fog. The silence you hold in those seconds is not emptiness, it is selection. When you finally speak, you do not summarize the history of the problem or defend your corner. You name the outcome everyone cares about and the next measurable step that moves the team toward it. The temperature drops because the room just heard a voice organized by purpose rather than by fear. Imagine a kitchen at the end of a long day. Old disagreements circle like birds that have learned the route back to the same branch. You do not want to fight. You also do not want to disappear. You wait for the right words to land instead of forcing them. When they arrive, they are smaller than you expected. They carry the shape of an outcome and the offer of a simple act within your reach. The exchange stays human. The eyes across from you soften because they hear a promise that can be lived by bedtime, rather than an argument that will still be echoing at midnight. Silence made room for something kinder than victory. Silence made room for peace. Set against the culture of constant broadcasting, this restraint feels countercultural. The world rewards speed and applause and the display of certainty. But leadership that lasts has a different texture. It is felt as dependability, as calm under pressure, as words that match patterns already seen. Silence protects that texture. It keeps the brand of your voice clean. If you speak rarely and keep your word often, people learn to relax when you open your mouth. They know the sentence will be short and honest and aimed at the good of the whole. They know it will bind you to an action you are willing to carry. Authority flows from that alignment. It does not require performance. It requires congruence. Emotional neuroscience adds a tender insight here. Rumination feeds on unclosed loops and verbal overexposure. When you speak more than the moment can bear, you create promises your body must carry through the night. Sleep fragments. Memory consolidates noise. The next day arrives with a residue of unprocessed tension. Silence interrupts that cycle. By limiting speech to what you mean and to what you can sustain, you lower the cognitive load your mind must haul in the dark. Dreams become tools again instead of battlegrounds. Morning returns with a cleaner sheet of attention, and the day benefits from the rest your restraint protected. There is a dignity that grows in the practice of holding the tongue until the heart is ready to sponsor the words. You begin to feel speech as an offering rather than a reflex. You notice how often the room heals itself when given a few extra seconds. You watch misunderstandings dissolve without intervention because you withheld the sentence that would have hardened them. Not every silence will be understood. Some will be misread as distance or as consent. And in those moments, you will choose to clarify because the care of the community requires your voice. Yet even then, the discipline holds. You will choose a single clear line that names the boundary or the value at stake, and the integrity of your restraint will lend that line unusual weight. The metaphor of a sharpened blade belongs here. A dull edge requires force and leaves ragged cuts. A keen edge requires less pressure and produces clean lines. Words are like this. When you pour them constantly into the world, they lose their edge and demand more energy to achieve less. When you speak them with care, they remain sharp enough to do their work without tearing the fabric of the room. The craft of silence is the whetstone. Each held breath is a stroke that refines meaning and aligns intention. Over time, your voice finds its true register. It grows lower, warmer, steadier. People stop bracing for impact and start leaning in. This discipline also honors the mystery of timing. There are moments when saying less now makes it possible to say more that matters later. Relationships have seasons, teams have rhythms, souls have thresholds. A truth told at the wrong hour can start a fire that takes months to put out. The same truth told when ears are open can plant a seed that chooses its own rain. Silence senses the hour. It waits with respect for the listener's capacity and for its own readiness. When the hour arrives, the words land like rain on ground that has been thirsting. None of this asks you to erase yourself. It asks you to let your presence be felt in outcomes as much as in statements, in promises kept as much as in positions argued. It asks you to protect the weight of your language so that when you speak, your speech carries the history of your actions within it. This is why communities eventually trust the quiet leader. They do not feel manipulated. They feel carried. They do not feel managed. They feel companioned. The silence they have witnessed in hard moments becomes proof that the voice they hear now has been filtered by patience and love. There is one more kindness hidden inside this practice. Silence can be mercy for the other person and for yourself. It gives them a chance to find their best self before you answer their worst moment. It gives you a chance to remember who you are before you become who the moment is trying to make you. In that pause, a higher intention can re-enter the room. A softer story can be told. A future can be protected that might have been lost to a single hot exchange. This is not small. This is the difference between a day that fractures and a day that holds. The old wisdom lingers like a benediction over all of this. A time to be silent and a time to speak. A person who keeps silent is sometimes counted wise. These are not tricks for looking good. They are invitations to become good. They invite the nervous system to calm, the mind to clarify, the heart to prioritize, and the life to align so thoroughly that words become the echo of a reality already being lived. In such a life, authority does not demand attention. Authority arrives with the quiet confidence of a presence that builds more than it argues. And when it finally chooses to speak, the room is ready to listen. There is a story that visits the mind when the house is quiet and the heart is honest. Two builders stand at the edge of an empty lot as the morning lifts its first light. One carries many words and a need to win. The other carries a plumb line and a steady breath. The lot is the same for both. The sky is the same. Only the use of the morning is different. One speaks of plans and precedents and the way things should be. The other kneels and marks a line in the dust where the first stone belongs. By noon, the talker has gathered an audience and the listener has raised a corner. By evening, one has a case and the other has a wall. Both are tired. Only one rests. This story is not harsh. It is tender with the truth that every soul knows. Arguments feel like progress because the body rewards the sound of certainty. Neural pathways light up with small flashes of pleasure when a point lands. It is a temporary flame. It warms the ego and then leaves the room colder than before. Work changes chemistry in a quieter way. Loops close. The amygdala softens its grip. The frontal regions wake with focus. Sleep arrives without the gravel of replayed scenes. Morning returns with a kind of clean air because the world contains a trace of your care that did not exist the day before. Across the day that just carried you, some moments asked for a voice, and some asked for quiet. Some asked for acceptance of wise guidance, and some asked for a boundary shaped without heat. Some asked for a small action that could be finished before the sun went down, and some asked for a single sentence that protected what matters. These moments were not enemies pulling in different directions. They were lines of the same song, calling your attention back to what is solid. They were invitations to let outcomes become your language. The builder who argued was not cruel. He was afraid that silence would erase him. He was afraid that obedience to wisdom would shrink him. He was afraid that choosing his battles would make him appear weak. He was afraid that a small beginning would be judged. Fear is an artist with many colors. It can paint bravery as surrender and restraint as retreat. It can paint quiet as shame and speed as rashness. The other builder felt the same fear. He simply treated fear as weather rather than as law. He let the wind pass over while the work took root below. There is a way the ground responds to a life that keeps its words few and its actions faithful. Trust gathers in the soil like moisture gathering after dusk. People relax in your shade because they no longer need to guard against floods of speech that promise more than a day can carry. Your own heart relaxes because it recognizes itself in what your hands have made. Influence deepens without effort. Authority becomes the gift other people place in your hands because they have watched you carry weight without dropping the fragile things. The image of the plow belongs again in this ending. A field does not argue with the farmer, it receives. The grooves that seem too small to matter become rows that welcome a season's worth of life. There is humility in each pass. The earth accepts the line, and then another until a pattern forms that can be trusted. A person becomes like that field when wisdom has been allowed to shape attention day after day. The pattern is simple and brave. Fewer arguments, quieter dignity, quicker beginnings, gentler reviews, speech that matches history, silence that protects hope. Sometimes love will still ask for hard conversations. Sometimes justice will still require a clear voice that does not shake. The discipline you have practiced does not silence truth. It prepares it. It trims away the pride that would push truth too hard and too soon. It strengthens the breath so that truth can arrive without splintering the room. When the hour comes, words can stand because they have been carved by patience and anchored in acts already seen. Imagine walking past the lot at the end of a long season. The talker has moved on to a fresh crowd and a new debate. The listener is still there at dawn with a pencil tucked behind the ear and dust on the knees. The wall has become a home. Windows hold the light. A table waits for bread. A door opens to welcome tired friends who need a place where the air is gentle. No speech could do that work. No victory in a quarrel could hold that warmth. Only the daily choice to move quietly with wisdom could raise something that endures. There is a softness in this recognition that does not accuse. It forgives the hours spent in noise, because those hours taught the difference between heat and light. It honors the part of you that wanted to be understood, and blesses the part of you that learned to build instead. The future is not asking for perfection. It is asking for a steady heart that answers tension with clarity and answers clarity with motion. It is asking for a voice that waits until love can carry it, and for hands that give love a shape while the voice rests. Before this day closes, the mind may offer one more question that is not heavy but exact. What result would carry tenderness into tomorrow if it existed by the next evening? The question does not force a command. It opens a window. Something small may step through. A promise turned into a pattern. a wall raised by a single course, a breath held long enough to soften a sentence, a moment of received wisdom that saves a room from fatigue. These are quiet things, and they are strong things. They are the bricks of a life that argues less and blesses more. The story returns to its beginning. Two builders at first light. One gathers words, one gathers stones. The ground remembers who it trusts. The sky leans the same way. When night comes, the lot of the listener has changed. There is shelter where there was only air. There is bread where there was only talk. There is rest where there was only effort. This is the wisdom Solomon held out like a lamp on a path. Let your life speak in outcomes. Let your voice carry the echo of those outcomes. Let your quiet become a promise the world can feel. And when the next morning arrives, let the first light find you ready.